Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Abstract and we're here at ZIM Kids, kids.zimjs.org. And we're going to be taking a look at how we can use the Slate editor right here, or indeed right here, to make apps with assets. So if you want to learn how to code, you can do the tutorials here. We have a bunch of examples of bringing in assets here, as well as exciting ones to make bugs and things. Okay, but today we're going to be looking at how to make our own with Slate. So that's either here or here, and so we press. This is the editor that's very similar to the editor in all the tutorials. And we had an old video. This is an updated video. Now we've brought our assets right into here. But even before we do assets, let me show you how we could change a background color here. This is the editor on this side. So we'll zoom in on that a little bit so you can see. And what we can do is say, hey, frame, set the color, dot color is equal to blue. And then when we test, the color is blue. If we want this outer color here to be a different color, we can say F.outerColor is equal to green, semicolon. And then when we test, the outer color is green, like that. Okay. So that allows us to change the background colors, but if we want, we could put a whole background picture in here as well. So let's get rid of those for now. And we're going to go to assets right here. Assets is another word for images and sounds. And we're going to be following along the help pages here. And you can open up these bars, boink, like that. So assets are images, sprites, and sounds that we use in our apps. And there's two basic ways to bring them in. One is using the assets menu, where we check the ones we want and we hit the update button. The other is, come on down here, is preloading them with files. So we can actually type them in like that. So there's two ways, and we'll show you mostly the picking of the assets, but we'll show you at least once how we can preload them with code. There's us talking about the background color, so we just mentioned that. If we want to make a gradient background color, you can do it like this. We could add a new page that has the width and the height, and then two different colors, and it would make that nice gradient color as well. All right, so background pictures. We're going to add a beach, and here under this bar is option 1 for adding a beach, where you go out and pick it, and then you can bring it in, or you can use code to bring it in. So each of the bars show you the two ways to do that. Let's do this first way, shall we? So we can go to get out of help group and go back to the intro here, or choose these things. So we've got AI backgrounds, or AI images in general. So there's some backgrounds there of alien planets, then all sorts of other images. And maybe we'll see some of those, but I'd like to do the same one that we did in the help. Okay, but there's all sorts of them here. It should be noted that there's two different types of images. One is just normal, like this one. So here's an alien. And then we have these other ones that are called sprites. So here's a bunch of backpacks. And the sprites have more pictures inside them, or in some cases, they're animations. Okay, we want a background picture. So I'm going to go to backings right here. And we'll choose the beach right there. So we select the beach, and then we hit update. And what happens is it adds the beach to our code here, at which point we can say I want a new pic. I want a new pic that is called the same thing that is here, so you can copy it if you want, but in quotes as a string. So that's an ID. When we pick it like that, we get an ID. When we do it by file name, we have to put the file name extension on the end. But for now, since we picked it, we only need the ID. And then we need to do something with it. .center. So if we simply center, it's close, but you can see that the picture of the beach is not quite as high as the stage. So this gray bit is the stage. Remember, if we put a background color in there, F.color equals red, then we can see. All right, so this bit is the stage. So we want the picture to fit properly on this. And to do that, we have .scale to. And if you don't do anything inside these round brackets for scaling, it will fill the whole stage with the picture. You want to see? Test. There we go. So some of the picture is off to the left and some of the picture is off to the right. You can see that if we say .drag like that. And now I can drag that. And you see a little bit of the picture is off to the one side and a little bit of the picture is off to that side. But in general, that's a pretty good way to fill your whole screen there. Let's get rid of the red. We don't need that. Yay! So we made a background picture, and we don't really want to drag our background picture either. Okay, let's see what's next. Under the assets here, we are going to choose help and take a look. We've seen background color. We saw a background picture. Let's see pictures now. So it's the same kind of idea. We're going to go find that bug, I think it was. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's bug 01, and that's in the nature. Okay, so let's do that. We come up here, we choose nature, and now we're looking for a bug. Oh, there it is right there. So if we select the bug and come on up and say update, it now gives us the backing of beach 01, and in nature we have bug 01. So we can say new pic and bug 01, and if we center the bug, there's the bug. We can also scale the bug if we want, .sca 0.5, and that scales it to be a bit smaller. We can also .place. So if you go .place like that, then you can pick up the bug and put it somewhere. But you won't know where that is unless you look at the console, F12. And sometimes you know about consoles and sometimes you don't. But that gives a location right there, .loc. So F12 or function F12, or ask your teacher, and you can probably find the console. It may look a little bit different than mine. But I've just copied that and pasted, and now it gives me the location of the bug. Therefore, I don't need to center it. And when I test it, now the bug test is right up there. All right, or you could figure that out yourself. You could always just change these numbers. I want it at 500. And 100. And then test and go, yeah, that's it. And if you want it bigger, you could say 1.5. Do you want to see what it is? 1.5. Oh, it's a big bug. And if you want, you can drag as well. Let's leave it at 0.5. We'll add the little drag there. Or make it wiggle, or do whatever you're wanting to do. So what you can do with this bug is not really what we're talking about in this video, but you would take the tutorials to figure out how you could animate the bug, wiggle the bug, drag the bug, place the bug, etc. Those are all in the tutorials as well. But anyway, now we can drag the bug, which is really a butterfly. Okay, so back to the assets then. Back to the help. Let's see what else we have. That was a background picture and a picture. We talk about containers. So what we're going to do is make a container that holds both this gem right here and this cartoon face. So let's see what that does. So there's a new container, and there we have a holder. We store it in holder. We bring in the gem, and to get the gem, we have to go to the nature section and choose the gem. Then we go to the people section and choose the cartoon. So here we now have the gem, and we add it to the holder. So a container is like an invisible, well, a container. And there we just put the picture in it. And now we're putting the cartoon, and we're going to scale it to the holder 60% and center it on the holder. And what that does is it scales the face so that it fits inside the holder. Otherwise it wouldn't fit in there. Then we take the holder and we choose where we want it to go, and we're also making it drag. Okay, so why don't we'll just copy this code right here. Okay, there we go. Control C. Then we'll come on over here and Control V. Now what do you think will happen if we copy all that code in there? What do you think? Ready? Test. Oh, error! If assets, make sure sound, image, etc. paths are correct. So we didn't go and select the gem yet, and we didn't select the cartoon yet. So we would have to go into assets. Where were they again? Do you remember? I remember one was it in nature, the gems? Oh, it says, doesn't it? Add the gem. No, not here. So we could go, let's see if we can find it. In nature, gem. It's either in nature or it was under things. It was probably in, oh, there they are. So it's considered rocks are part of nature, I guess. And which gem is it? Gem 1. So let's select gem 1. And we can go right over to the people, I think it was. You don't have to update every time. It will remember. And then we come on down, and which cartoon was it? Cartoon 2. There. So now we've selected both those, and we hit update. Yay! Now it works. All right, so if we didn't scale to the holder, I could comment that out and hit save. Oh, it's a little bit big. Oh, maybe you want it that way. So that's why we did the scale to the holder, and 60% means not 100%. This is 100%. So if we did 20%, it would be quite small. Oh, little cute face on there. Okay, and if we did 200%, it would be twice as big. Oh. Okay, so 60% is almost half as big. And there we go. So we're making it half as big almost, and puts a quarter and a quarter as our gem here. All right. And if we didn't do the, so we did have the drag here, and we have this extra thing on the drag. Watch what happens if we don't have that extra thing. So I save that. When I pick up, oh, hey, wait a minute. We can pick up both of these, and watch, if I press this, it comes up on top of that. So normally when we drag a container, this is a container, the holder, see how we've got the drag is on the holder? It means that it will drag anything in the holder. But if we give it a parameter called all, true, that means drag all of the things in the container at once. And so now when we test it, they all go. So you see how containers are handy because you can group them together. All right, so now we have a bug and we have the holder. Let's go back and see what else we have. Back in the help, if we scroll down, we've seen containers. And now we're going to take a look at sounds. So sounds, here we play a power-up sound when we press the butterfly. Now the thing about sounds is you're not supposed to play them until you interact. And once you interact, then you can play sounds whenever you want, but you have to interact at least once. That means press on it. So in this case, it's fine because we're going to press on the bug. So bug.onMouseDown, we're going to play the sound, and that's good. But we couldn't just make the sound. So here's the sound. We couldn't just make the sound and play it right away. Okay. So let's go find the sound, and the sound was called sounds, but then we're going to use the power up sound. Okay, so we go to our asset, we're in our assets help. So we go to sounds right here, and we look for power up. The sounds are broken down into an original set of sounds, which are sort of like these beeps and 8-bit sounds. And then we have other types of sounds as well that you can press to go see those. But we're looking in the original sounds for power up. There's power down, and here's power up. So we check power up, and we hit update. Now we have a sound called power up. We want that to happen when we press on the bug. So we can bring in the sound here, new odd for audio. And then we put the ID there, power up. And sometimes it's a good idea. I just double click on that, copy it with Control C and Control V, or Apple C and Apple V. And there's power up now. But we don't hit .play here. It would work actually when we're testing it. There it goes. But if we're on full mode, that's just because we're in the same system here. If we were alone, though, on our own browser, we haven't interacted yet. We've interacted by pressing these buttons. So don't rely on playing that sound right away. We don't want to play it right away anyway. We want to play it when we press the bug. Okay, so how we can play it later is we have to store it in a variable. Const sound is equal to. We don't play it yet. We just store it. And then when we press the bug, which is right here, if we give this a name, const bug is equal to, then we can say bug.on mouse down. And what we can do is we can say play sound like that. And then we have to make that a function. Function play sound like that. And when we press down on the bug, it will call the function playSound. This is what function to call, and a function does something. And then in here, we can say sound.play. So every time we press down on the bug, it will then play the sound. And we can also choose the volume right here, maybe a little bit less. So a volume of 1 is normal. A volume of 0.5 is half as much. That's still pretty loud. 0.2. Might be kind of annoying. But there you go. We can also use what's called an arrow function. But if you want to learn about functions, that you can do that in the in all of the tutorials. So here's what an arrow function would look like. So we just use this little arrow right here to make our block of code, and we put the playing right inside of our bug.onMouseDown. It makes it a little bit shorter. And when we test that, it would also play. Okay, good. So we looked at sounds. You might be thinking, before we go on and look at sprites, why don't we try loading in a sound in, or loading something else, a picture, in a different way, okay, with code, because you've now seen how to select it by going to the assets and choosing. Oh, one other thing I should do is show you, hey, we could make it so that we get rid of all these things. So let's try some AI stuff. And if I want to uncheck all these, so this no longer works, so we say bye-bye to beach, bye-bye beach, bye-bye bug, bye-bye jewel. All right, so I'm going to, if I hit uncheck, it will uncheck all of them on this page. If I hit uncheck all, it unchecks them on all of the pages. So I'm going to go say yes, and then I'm going to hit update. At which point, this has a bunch of broken pictures. So this broken picture, that's what these things are, because we don't have anything, nothing's been brought in yet. Okay, so let's get rid of all of it. Like that, and hit well, or I could hit clear. Actually, that would work as well. Okay, so we're back to nothing, and let's see if we can bring in our background color, or we'll bring in something different this time. How about one of the AI assets here? Let's bring in this alien. Okay, so we could check it and hit update, and then use the AI alien too, or we can find out what it's called by going out to here. And there is where it's stored up top here. And what we're interested in is this well, I guess we're interested in all of this. So let's copy all of it. This is where, that's the URL. It's called a URL, Universal Resource Locator, to find this picture on ZIM. Then we come into here and we can say frame.zap_assets. So these are called zaps under here, or all the things that we're making are called zaps. And on the capital F for frame, right there, zap_assets is equal to, and then we put the whole URL. This is one option. So if we put the whole URL in there, we could then use that, and that would look like this. Give me a new pic, like so, and again put the whole URL in there, .center. Now our picture comes in, but this looks a little long, doesn't it? And if we had another one as well, then we would have to do that as well. So this is preloading. It actually would work without preloading, but so if we didn't even do this part, it still works, because that's where the asset is, and it will do what's called lazy loading. But there are some things that don't work with lazy loading, such as sprites and making tiles of things, where you need to know how big the image is before you can run it or do it. So I would suggest that we don't even think about lazy loading, and that we do the preloading. But if we had two, so let's go grab another asset here. How about we put the asset on a planet like this one right here. So if I press that, there's the URL for the planet, and I hit copy. And what you would do is you would put both of those in the same assets. And you would do that with square brackets here like that. Normally we put square brackets on one line, but these are a little bit long at the moment, so I'll just do it this way. Oh, and that needs to be in quotes, like so. So now we have two assets, like that. And if we wanted to, let's build the first one, or the background first. So this is the background right here. Copy and paste in there. So now we have, oh, it didn't work. Center, center. What do you think happened? Zap assets, we've got that, we've got that. .center.pick F12. Are we getting an error? Const, we have, it couldn't find the resource. What resource? Alien planet 01.jpg. All right. The assets, when you bring in the zap assets, they can't be on multiple lines like that. So we have to put it on one line. Ah, that's good that we did that. So now you know. So that's an awfully long line, but we can fix it. It will get better. Don't you worry. I just wanted to show you the reason why we want to make this shorter. So there, if we do that all on one line like so, now it runs. There's our alien right there on the planet. Woohoo! Okay, so what's happening is this is being read in by ZIM, and it needs to be on one line rather than on multiple lines. So it's read in, then it runs the frame and stuff like that. So don't worry about that. Anyway, what you want to know though is we don't have to put all of this stuff that's called the path. You see how it's the beginning of the URL, and then this part is called the file. So really, we can pull this out like this, cut, and we put that in f.zap_path is equal to. So we do it only once, right there in a path. And then we don't need to do it for everything that we load in. Now we've only got the AI alien2.png and the alien planet.jpg. Note that they're different extensions on those. That's why you go out and find out what they're called. You can't think that they're all PNGs, and you can't think that they're all JPEGs. And then down here, we don't need all of this anymore. Hey, doesn't that look better? Okay, so now it's almost the same. The only difference is we have to put in the extension that's called a JPEG or a PNG, which is background transparent or can be, whereas the JPEG is never background transparent. All right, so JPEGs are good for backgrounds, which don't need background transparent, and PNGs are often good for things that you do want to be transparent. For instance, if we drag this, see? Okay. We'll put the little alien in different places and we can see past the alien. That's the background of it is see-through, transparent. Oh, it looks like it has a little hat. Okay, so this is the second way then that you can bring in these, and you could put your sounds in there as well. So once you've set it up once, you just go find the sound and you put your sound in there. You find the next one, you put your next one in there. And what we've done in some examples is told you all of what this is. So for instance, if we go off to ZIM Kids again and take a look at the assets, if you look at the bottom of the assets, we give you the Zap assets. And that means you could do this one right here by copying this code and not going out and finding all of these different parts and selecting them. So sometimes, especially if you're a little bit of an older kid, it's just easier to do these by copying that and putting it up at the top, and then all of these assets will work versus going and selecting them all. It's okay if you're a kid and want to select things, or if you only have one or two, but in doing some of these asset examples, it was just easier to copy all these things and use them. Sound good? Also, that starts leading you towards working without the editor, because eventually, as you get better at this, you'll be making the code all by yourself without an editor, and then you can use things almost like this anyway. We just pass that into the frame, and that into the frame as a parameter, and that all works. Okay. So, anything else we got? Let's take a look and see. There was Sprites. Do you want to look at Sprites? We may as well. I know this has been long. If you want to put this on pause and go get a cookie. It's funny, it sounds like I'm talking to kids, but even when I'm talking to adults, I always say, hey, put this on pause, go get a cookie. Why not, huh? Adults eat cookies too. Okay, anyway, looking in assets, let's see what else we have. Under the help here, we did see, remember on assets, we saw, let's just make this bigger for us. On assets, there were two ways. One is you select and then you hit update, and then you use new pick with the ID or odd with the ID. And then sprites we're going to take a look at now. That's what we're about to do. But that was the one way. And then here's the second way is preloading with files. And there's the preloading. Okay, so now we've seen both ways. And what we want to do now is take a look at sprites. So sprites have these dashes around them. And there's two types of colors or two types of sprites. One is when it's a different picture of different things. Like this is one backpack and here's a different backpack. The other type of sprite is an animation. So for instance, on the butterfly here, it has, it's an animation of the butterfly. So let's go out and see those. And we work with those a little bit differently. When we have single items, we're wanting to use a new sprite that is just a certain frame number. or we could have it just randomly picked. I'll show you both. But so we want, hey, frame 5, and that will be a certain tree. Frame 6 is a different tree. Okay, you see, and we're just going to use that one tree. Whereas the animations here, we don't do that. We just run the whole animation in a certain time. All right, so that's a lot of talking. Let's go out and take a look at these things. All right, we'll go into the AI, and in the AI AI, there's no animations. We used AI. Maybe we couldn't figure out how to make AI do animations, but we did. It was quite easy to make AI give us a bunch of asteroids or a bunch of backpacks. We had been talking backpacks. Do you want to do backpacks, or would you rather do castles? Tell me. There's also dragons. So all of these things with the backgrounds there, or with the borders there, those are sprites. Okay. Let's see. So which one shall we pick? There's plushies. There's here's a bunch of princesses. Shall we look at princesses? So if we press princesses, like that, there they are. Wow. Okay. And we need to know how many columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5 columns. And how many rows? 1, 2, 3, 3? Just 3. Yeah. So this is 5 by 3. And if we take a look here, it says 5 by 3. And so when we make our sprite, we need to tell it where it is, and then how many columns and how many rows. So we could select it like that, and then we just use the ID. Do you want to do it that way? Okay, so we select it and hit update. And we've still got some old stuff happening here. With our zaps here, so we'll clear this. And so now we have AI PNG, AI princesses like that. We can copy that. If we went new pick, like so, dot center, then there they all are. If we wanted those to fit on the screen, do you remember this one? Dot scale 2. That will be roughly the same, because that will fill the whole screen. So if we do that, it does indeed fill the whole screen. But if we say scale to the stage, comma, 100%, or 100%, I see. So that will be either 100% of the width or 100% of the height, depending on whichever one makes it fit. And in this case, it's not this 100%. It's the height's 100%. So if we said 80% on the height, now it's 80% of the height. So that's how you can fit an image inside. You have to give it the percentage. As soon as you give it the percentage, that will fit it within there. Okay. Anyway, we don't want to do that. We don't even want to see all of these princesses. What we want to do instead is make a sprite. All right. So we're going to make a sprite, and you can't just call it that. You have to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by 3. So that goes in here, 5 by 3. And now when we test, it gives us only 1. And by default, it will just randomly pick one. Oh, a different one. Cool, huh? So if we wanted to, we could make a new emitter emit that sprite. And that would look like this, new emitter. And then we could tell it to emit that sprite. Ooh, and it just randomly picks a new one each time. Isn't that magical? Let's go frame.color equals interstellar. Wow. Isn't that beautiful? And you could do other things with the emitter, like slow it down or whatever you want to do. Anyway, I'm not going to emit the sprite. But if we wanted a certain, princess, a specific princess, say that princess right there, we'd have to take a look at the princess and see which one, but it would be like this. Drop this down. Dot center, dot run. So now we're going to run it. If we just run, it looks like this, where it all runs. I can see that we've got a bit of background issue on this one. So you see them? They're all running like that. That's not what we want. We don't want an animation. Instead, we're going to say squiggly brackets frame colon 0. And now that is the first one. Frame colon 1 is this one. And every time we test this, it will be that same one. So once you find one you like, say it's frame 5. Hey, I like her. Okay, then you just leave it like that. And you can do things like dot drag. And now we can drag her around. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Okay, or whatever you might want to do. So that's a sprite that is used as a sprite sheet. Let's go see a sprite that is an animation. So under assets, the AIs don't have any animation, but nature has some animation. For instance, this little ant right here is a sprite. You see how it's red? Now let's go find another one. We had the butterfly like that. There's also a monkey. So the butterfly is 10 by 4 and it looks like this. And that makes little flappings. Okay. So if we select the butterfly here, update, it now says we have nature butterfly as well. So if we copy this, we can bring in the butterfly. Like that. How many did it have? Oh no, I can't remember. So under the assets, nature, butterfly was 10 by 4. So we have to change this to 10 by 4, 10 columns, 4 rows. We're not going to run frame 5. If we did, well, I suppose it would be centered on top of the princess. There's the little butterfly. Okay. We're not going to run frame 5 or frame 5 of the butterfly. We're just going to run the butterfly. And let's have a look. Oh, isn't that beautiful? But it just ran once. It seems about the rate. So this is the speed of it. Let's not bother centering the sprite for now. There's the little butterfly. You see how it only runs once? Pretty good speed. But what we can do is we can say with the squiggly brackets, loop colon true. Or I think the looping, oh, I can't remember. I think loop colon true. Loop colon true. And now it will loop forever and give us a butterfly. Now that it's doing it, it looks kind of fast, doesn't it? So let's slow it down. We say time colon 2 seconds. So now it will take 2 seconds to run. And there it is, looping. And if we go const butterfly, like that, is equal to, we could put that in a motion controller. New motion controller. And we will put the butterfly in there. Butterfly. And what that will do is as we press on the screen, the butterfly will run, go to where it is. I see that the top left corner, do you see the top left corner? It looks like the top left corner of the butterfly is going there. So we should center reg the butterfly. But that's not what this is about. Now the center of the butterfly goes there. Yeah, we're not coding together. We're just showing you how to use assets. And we can scale that a bit bigger too. .ska 2. We could also make it follow, well, maybe 1.5. 1.5, we could make it follow by going mouse move, I think, is it? No. Oh, there it is. Yeah, didn't refresh. So whenever I move my mouse, the butterfly is going to my mouse. Cool, huh? All right, there's a sprite. And what else do we have? Top here, hopefully you are doing well out there in ZIM Kids. Yay. We were looking through the help here. We have now seen a sprite. So you can load emojis as well. With it's not really, it's a little bit different. You can go find emojis and just say new emoji like that. So there's an emoji picker with a link to it if you want. Sprites, we talked about sprites. So if you want to look up all of that stuff that we just did, you can do that. And here is loading the sprite in the what we call the zap directives. That's the name of using zap assets and zap path. You can do it the same way. Okay, and there's the animations examples, so you're welcome to take a look at that. You can load things from the internet as well. And so we won't do any of that, but this is an internet location for this animated GIF like that. Here are sprites. Some of the sprites require this data, it's called, so you have to do it a little bit differently. They've been packed in there at this place called Texture Packer. So it just depends on the type of sprite you have. Normally we have rows and columns in all of the assets, but if you're going to the internet, then you sometimes get this data JavaScript object notation. And then you have to load it in a slightly different way. So that's an example there. Okay. You could store pictures out on GitHub, so it depends where your teachers are going to tell you to store things, or on Imager, or wherever it may be. And then fonts, and you can load in Google Fonts. Shall we see a Google font together? So Google Fonts are, there's a dancing script, or Chewy. Let's see what Chewy looks like. And what we do is we put little GF underscore in front, and that stands for Google Fonts Chewy. Or we can go see a Google font. So here's the internet, and I type in Google Fonts like that. And when we arrive at Google Fonts, there they are. And you could type in something, butterfly. All right, so we've typed in butterfly here, and then we want to look and see which font we like. But what's cool is you can say, hey, do you want cute fonts? That's pretty nice. What do you think? Do you like that one? Or do you like this one better? So aren't these cute? And then there's futuristic and artistic and playful. So you never know. Ooh, cool. I like that. Mystery Quest, butterfly. Yeah, so there's so many beautiful ones. You might fall in love with fonts. Who knows? All right, so there's the bunch of butterflies. Which one am I going to choose? Actually, like this one just fine. Pacifico. So that's the name that we want to use right there. Oh, sometimes they have two. So let's choose MeowScript because it's got 2 words, and I want to make sure that you know how to use 2 words. What I usually do, I find it hard to select or to copy that, so I click on it, and then up on the top here I can select Meow plus script. That's what you want. Meow plus script, the little plus sign there. Okay, then we come back to here. And we would say f.zap underscore assets is equal to, if we only have one thing, we can just put it in there like that. And then we say gf underscore. So you see how we added the gf underscore to exactly that same font that we had there. Zap assets is equal to that. Or if you had lots of assets, you would have a square brackets, and then you could put more assets here as a string, or more fonts, or whatever you want. You don't need to worry about the path. It will figure the path out because it told it it's a Google font. And now what we can do is we can say new label, and we could say butterfly, or whatever we want. Oh, never mind. Butterfly. We say butterfly. The next is how big. How about 100? We don't have much that we're saying. That's all. And now we put the font. So that's in quotes like that, and we don't need the plus sign. So MeowScript is the name of the font, but the file name has the plus sign in it. That's why I wanted to do a space, because spaces are turned into plus signs. All right, and then we say a color. So that will be important because we've got a dark color, and by default this will be black. So we'll want to see this. How about we call it pink? And then we will dot pose, position this 0 from the center, and say 50 down from the top, from the center top, like that. Top is default, so you don't need it. Here you go. Butterfly. All right, and that's much nicer. Maybe let's do it in yellow. It's much nicer than if it didn't have the font. So here's what it would look like if it didn't have the font. Null. You have to put something in there. Butterfly. Okay, which one do you like? There's butterfly, or there's butterfly. See how that can make your feature, your little app, much nicer. Okay, so there you go. I think that might be it. Let's just make sure. If we go to the assets, and we were down here in the fonts. Yeah, there you go. So that explains the fonts, right? And then that was the last one, fonts. We're done. Once again, if you want to know how to do all of this code, then go to the ZIM Kids. Let's see, why aren't we able to go to ZIM Kids there? We go to ZIM Kids, and you could learn how to do these things inside here. This is very similar. Our editor is very similar. We've got tests and clear, so you see that. We can also bring in assets in a slight, well, that'll click to it and show it. But in general, when you're in the editor, you're sort of doing what the editor asks for, as opposed to making things yourself. Okay, you're going through these levels and trying to make the same kind of things. But there's how we were doing dragging. Remember how we did dragging like that? But look, you also get color pickers, so we could change the color of what we press on. Orange, blue. Right, and you can learn with the code to be able to do that right here, and it says what you're supposed to be doing. There's even more info for each of these if you want. You can see the spells and the magic which explain things. All right, but we were showing you how to use assets in Slate. There's also these ones as well, which help you through the assets if you so desire. And a big cheat sheet filled with all sorts of things that work in ZIM. Hey, we know how to make this guy now, huh? And drag him around. Okay, I'm glad you're here with us. I am Dr. Abstract, and we've been coding in ZIM Kids in the Slate editor. Have a great day or night. Cheers, and tell your friends. Woohoo! Bye-bye.